Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission here is always the same. Take a monumental stack of sources, articles, and research, distill the most vital insights, and deliver the definitive story straight to you.
And today, we are really undertaking a massive one. We're diving into a figure who is, he's less a celebrity and more a piece of our cultural architecture.
William Bradley Pitt.
Exactly. His career, his personal life, it's all defined global stardom for, over 30 years now?
It's a huge scope. And our analysis is going to be, truly comprehensive. We're synthesizing his entire trajectory.
Right. We're looking at his evolution from a young man who basically fled Missouri to become this globally influential actor.
But not just an actor, a formidable Oscar-winning producer.
And, of course, a public figure whose private life is maybe the most intensely scrutinized narrative in Hollywood history. We're looking for the insights that explain his longevity and, really, his complexity.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. I think we have to start by establishing the sheer scale of the subject here. This isn't a flash in the pan.
No, not at all. We are talking about an enduring institution.
William Bradley Pitt, born December 18, 1963, in Shawnee, Oklahoma. He was raised in a conservative Southern Baptist household.
And that background is so important. It really informs his later very public wrestling with faith. He sort of oscillated between agnosticism and atheism before, finding his own spiritual path.
And if you just look at the metrics, the raw data of his career, his endurance is just startling.
The amount of critical hardware he's accumulated over 3 decades is incredible. We're talking 2 Academy Awards.
One for acting, one for producing, which is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then 2 BAFTAs, 2 Golden Globes, 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, and don't forget the Volpe Cup for Best Actor from the Venice Film Festival.
Which really marks him as an internationally lauded artist, not just a Hollywood star.
Exactly.
And the financial impact is just as staggering. As of 2025, the films he starred in have collectively grossed over $7.5 billion worldwide.
And that kind of consistent commercial success, that's what gives you power. It allows an actor to leverage that to champion, the more challenging passion projects later on.
It creates a kind of impenetrable shield of viability.
For sure. But the really unique texture of the Pitt story, I think, lies beyond the box office totals. It's in the realm of pure, defining pop culture influence.
You mean People's Sexiest Man Alive?
Not just once. Twice. First in 1995, capturing that whole mid-90s zeitgeist.
And then again in 2000.
Right, which confirms his status transcended a single decade. It wasn't a fluke.
And that repeated recognition is so key. It shows this sustained, almost visceral connection with the audience.
And it wasn't just about looks. Time magazine recognized his intellectual and humanitarian influence. They listed him as one of the world's 100 most influential people in both 2007 and 2009.
So right away, the immediate takeaway is this duality that we're going to have to explore.
Yeah. The serious, highly decorated artist who is also the global commercialized icon. The sources really lay out this tension between artistic discipline and this just explosive public persona.
And that duality, it starts right in the heartland. Let's trace his steps back to his early life in Springfield, Missouri.
The sources paint a very specific picture. They describe it as Mark Twain country, Jesse James country.
I love that quote. It's this mix of literary tradition and, outlaw history.
It is. And his background was very stable. His father, William Alvin Pitt, ran a trucking company, and his mother, Jane Eder Pitt, who just passed away recently in 2025, was a school counselor.
So it's profoundly stable, traditional Midwestern upbringing.
Exactly. That conservative, organized Southern Baptist structure gives you the context for his later, very public grappling with faith and morality.
And his high school years at Kickapoo High, they were defined by ambition. He wasn't just focused on one thing.
Not at all. He was on the golf, swimming, and tennis teams, so you see that competitive physical side.
But he was also deeply involved in the key and forensics clubs. He did debate and school musicals.
Which demonstrates this early drive to perform and compete, even if it wasn't, strictly focused on acting just yet.
It seems like he was building a path toward a very respectable professional life. He enrolled at the University of Missouri in 1982.
Majoring in journalism with a focus on advertising.
A solid, pragmatic, high-earning career path. But then we hit the critical decision point, the academic pivot.
He left university 2 weeks short of completing his degree.
Weeks.
It's an incredible gamble. It just defines his early risk tolerance. He explained later that for him, films were a portal into different worlds.
A way to escape or explore realities that just weren't available in Missouri.
Right. And as he reasoned, films aren't made in Missouri. So he made this drastic step of moving to Los Angeles. It was a clean, unambiguous break from the planned trajectory of his life.
So he gets to L.A., and the sources confirm the classic story of the struggling actor. He took acting lessons with Roy London, which shows he was serious about the craft.
He wasn't just relying on his looks or on chance. And he worked all those famously demoralizing odd jobs just to pay the bills.
The initial period, from about 87 to 90, it's just a catalog of the struggle. But he was persistent.
Very. He got uncredited parts in major films right away. No Way Out, No Man's Land, Less Than Zero, all in 1987. They weren't starring roles, but he was on real movie sets.
And his TV career was incredibly persistent during this time. He had a 2-episode run on the soap opera Another World.
Guest spots on Trial and Error and Growing Pains. He was on Growing Pains twice.
But the most substantial early TV exposure was on the primetime soap Dallas.
Exactly. He did 4 episodes of Dallas between late 87 and early 88. He played Randy, the boyfriend of Charlotte, Jenna Wade's daughter.
Wasn't high art, but it kept him employed and visible. You can really trace that slow, steady climb.
But his first actual leading film role, that shows you the volatility of the industry. It was a 1988 Yugoslavian-American co-production called The Dark Side of the Sun.
Which was then immediately shelved.
Tragically, yes. The outbreak of the Croatian War of Independence meant it wasn't released until 1997, 9 years later.
Can you imagine the frustration? You land your first lead, and then geopolitical turmoil just holds it hostage for nearly a decade.
It must have been incredibly demoralizing. But during that same time, the small screen gave him some real critical validation.
For the 1990 NBC TV movie Too Young to Die.
Right. He received significant praise for his role as Billy Canton, who critics called the magnificent slimeball, a drug addict who exploits a young runaway.
And that praise is so crucial because it showed he could pull off charisma and menace. A blend, one critic said, made him look and sound like a malevolent John Cougar Mellencamp.
He was already showing he could move beyond that clean-cut boy-next-door image.
And then the quantum leap. We move straight to 1991.
Thelma and Louise. This wasn't just a successful film. For him, it was a cultural watershed moment.
It truly was the defining moment. His supporting role as J.D., the cowboy hitchhiker, instantly transformed him from a working actor into a global sex symbol.
That scene with Gina Davis, it became legendary.
The one where he robs her character.
And that single scene, which is maybe 15 minutes of screen time total, it fundamentally changed his entire trajectory. He went from Brad Pitt, the struggling actor, to Brad Pitt, the undeniable heartthrob, basically overnight.
What's so fascinating, though, is how the industry struggled to follow up on that instant fame.
It's a classic problem. The sources point out that the films he made right after Johnny Suede in 91 and Cool World in 92 both got poor reviews and tanked at the box office.
It's the dilemma for a breakout star who's defined by their looks. The sudden fame gives you visibility, but the projects you get offered often try to capitalize on that shallow hunk label.
Exactly. He had the recognition, but the real work of building a durable, critically respected career that went beyond just his looks was only just beginning. He had to make an immediate conscious adjustment to challenge that label.
And that adjustment, that conscious effort to prove himself as an actor really begins in 1992 with A River Runs Through It, directed by Robert Redford.
The Redford connection is so powerful. I mean, Redford, the previous generation's ideal leading man, is essentially anointing the next.
And Redford's impact was massive. Critics and audiences hailed his portrayal of Paul McLean as a career-making performance. It was finally proof that he was more than a cowboy-hatted hunk.
The consensus was, okay, this man can act in serious drama.
But this is where we hit that critical external tension. Pitt himself admitted later that he felt this almost paralyzing pressure on that set. He privately considered it one of his weakest performances.
Which is a fascinating conflict. The sources say he attributed the film's success to the talent around him. He used that incredible tennis analogy.
Right, he said working with someone like Redford was like playing tennis with a superior player. And when you play with somebody better than you, your game gets better.
It shows this early self-awareness and humility. He knew he was absorbing mastery by proximity, and he recognized the gap between his ambition and his skill level at that time.
And that experience seems to have informed his choices right after. He consciously leaned into darker, more complex roles.
Moving away from the romantic leads that were being thrown at him. In 1993, he co-starred with his girlfriend at the time, Juliette Lewis, in California.
Where he played the menacing serial killer, Early Grace.
A pivotal performance. Critics noted his masterful ability to skillfully blend boyish charm and then a snort that exudes pure menace. That ability to switch between those two modes became his signature tool.
A way to subvert audience expectation based on his looks.
And he also showed his comedic range as the stoner Floyd in the cult hit True Romance. But 1994 brought the true test of his leading man status with Interview with the Vampire.
This was a huge production, based on the Anne Rice novel with a massive cast: Tom Cruise, Kirsten Dunst, Antonio Banderas.
And while it was commercially successful and he won 2 MTV Movie Awards for it, the critical reception for his specific performance as the vampire Louis was deeply mixed.
Let's pause on that. Why did critics struggle with his Louis?
Many critics felt he just lacked the necessary gravitas. The Dallas Observer called him a large part of the problem, saying there was nothing about him that suggested inner torment or even self-awareness. They just found him boring.
So it confirms that while he had the star power, he wasn't yet consistently delivering the profound internal life required for these complex, literary, brooding roles.
He was still finding his emotional depth on screen.
But that same year gave him a kind of redemption and his first major critical acknowledgement that wasn't tied to a cult film, Legends of the Fall.
This role, playing Tristan Ludlow, secured his very first major prize nomination, a Golden Globe for Best Actor. He had finally cemented his status as a legitimate lead.
Janet Maslin of the New York Times praised his diffident mix of acting and attitude, suggesting he had found a way to leverage his natural charm and combine it with believable dramatic weight.
Then the definitive pivot arrived in 1995 with David Fincher's Seven. This decision to play Detective David Mills seems to have been highly deliberate.
It absolutely was. Pitt explicitly said he sought out this role to move beyond the suffocating pretty boy image. He wanted to play someone with flaws.
And playing an impulsive detective in a grim, rain-soaked thriller achieved that perfectly. Critics acknowledged he delivered a determined, energetic, creditable job. Plus, the film was a massive hit.
$327 million internationally. That kind of success ensures you have the studio backing for your next artistic gambles.
But the real professional validation, the one that put him on the awards map, came later that year with Terry Gilliam's sci-fi film 12 Monkeys.
This was the breakthrough performance for critics.
No question. His role as the psychotic anarchist Jeffrey Goins earned him widespread acclaim, his first major industry trophy, the Golden Globe, and critically his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
So what made this performance stand out compared to his earlier work, like the flatness noted in Interview with the Vampire?
He was just startlingly transformative. Janet Maslin, who had critiqued him before, described his performance as startlingly frenzied and having a weird magnetism that energized the entire film. He wasn't relying on looks. He was fully inhabiting a character.
This era also shows his immense physical and technical commitment. For 7 years in Tibet in '97, he prepared for months.
That preparation was legendary. Intense mountain climbing and trekking training in California and the Alps. This level of physical dedication shows he understood the necessity of immersion, even if the final film got mixed reviews.
And he also struggled with accents. The sources mention the mixed reviews on his Irish accent for The Devil's Own with Harrison Ford.
The problem wasn't that the accent was bad, it was that some critics found it too convincing, so hard to understand for a mass American audience. It shows that tricky balance between authenticity and accessibility in a major studio film.
And just before the decade closed out, he hit another critical dip with Meet Joe Black in 1998, where he played the personification of death.
Widely seen as a miscalculation, he was playing a difficult, abstract concept. Critics like Mick LaSalle found his death lethally dull, and Roger Ebert just called the performance a miscalculation.
It proved that complexity doesn't guarantee success. Sometimes the concept just doesn't translate.
Right. But despite that dip, 1999 brings us to Fight Club. And his collaboration with David Fincher immediately established him not just as a star, but as a genuine, enduring cult icon.
The embodiment of rebellious male angst for a generation.
The preparation for Tyler Durden was extreme. Beyond the intense physical training, boxing, taekwondo, grappling, the ultimate sign of his commitment was his willingness to temporarily alter his appearance.
I remember this so well. He consented to having pieces of his actual front teeth temporarily removed.
That level of physical dedication is just extraordinary. It speaks volumes about his artistic seriousness, and it's such a sharp contrast to the pretty boy image he was still fighting.
And the film, of course, was critically divisive at first, but its legendary status was forged after the 2000 DVD release.
Right. Critics at the time praised him for being cool, charismatic, and more dynamically physical than he'd ever been before.
Then, following that intensity, he showed this remarkable ability to shift gears into pure comic outrageousness in Guy Ritchie's 2000 gangster film Snatch.
He played Mickey O'Neill, an Irish traveler boxer, and his accent in the film was so thick it was barely intelligible to a lot of viewers, which became part of the joke.
Critics noted this new, successful shift toward black comic outrageousness. He was intentionally playing against his conventional image, showing his confidence and sense of humor about his own celebrity.
And the early 2000s saw his transition into the ultimate Hollywood A-lister, which was solidified by his highly publicized marriage to Jennifer Aniston.
This cultural synergy was even winked at when he made his Emmy-nominated guest appearance on Friends in 2001, playing a man who harbored this long-standing comical grudge against Aniston's character Rachel.
That was peak cultural intersection. But the serious career strategy was happening at the same time with the Ocean's trilogy, starting with Ocean's 11 in 2001.
Those films cemented his status as a bankable ensemble player who could still command massive attention without carrying the whole film alone.
And that chemistry with George Clooney became an entire cinematic talking point.
Right. CNN called it the best male chemistry since Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
It established the modern template for the successful male blockbuster ensemble, built on this effortless charm and rapport.
And this brings us to a crucial element of his longevity. He decided to move beyond just acting and take control of the material.
In 2001, he co-founded the production company Plan B Entertainment,
Alongside Jennifer Aniston and Brad Gray.
This was a revolutionary decision for his career. Plan B wasn't a vanity project. It became the vehicle for his most critically acclaimed and Oscar-winning work later on. It transformed his influence from star for hire to a true power broker.
But before Plan B really hit its critical stride, he had the massive spectacle of Troy in 2004 where he played Achilles.
Troy perfectly demonstrates his commitment. He trained for 6 months in sword fighting. The profound irony, of course, is that during filming, he suffered a serious injury to his namesake.
His Achilles tendon.
Right. It delayed production for weeks. A remarkable piece of physical irony.
And while Troy was Plan B's first produced film, the cinematic explosion of this era has to be Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2005.
Commercially, a colossal hit, $478 million worldwide. The film succeeded purely because of the intense energy between the leads. Critics universally noted the star's thermonuclear screen chemistry with Angelina Jolie.
And that chemistry wasn't just on screen. It launched the intense, consuming global media phenomenon known simply as Brangelina.
The media attention was just unprecedented. It was a fusion of two globally recognized stars into a single, dominant brand. They became the benchmark for celebrity supercouples.
Moving into the later 2000s, Pitt continued to balance commercial necessity with critical weight. His performance in Babel in 2006 earned him another Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
He later called taking that part one of the best decisions of his career, which gives you insight into his evolving artistic values. He was drawn to these complex, global, human dramas.
The kind of film Plan B was designed to support. And speaking of Plan B, 2006 was a monumental year for the company. It produced The Departed,
Which went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture.
a massive success for the company. Now, it's a detail to note that due to specific Academy rules, only Graham King was eligible for the Oscar win that year.
Right. But it still established Plan B as a powerful force in prestige cinema.
But Pitt's personal investment in challenging material continued with the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford in 2007. He produced it and starred as Jesse James.
This film is a critical high point. It earned him the Volpe Cup at the Venice Film Festival. But what's more telling is that as recently as 2019, he called this quiet, difficult, melancholic film his personal favorite of his entire career.
It speaks volumes that the film he cherishes most is not his biggest hit, but the most artistically daring.
And he closed out this era by reuniting with David Fincher for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button in 2008.
His sensitive performance earned him his fourth Golden Globe and second Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. The film received 13 Oscar nominations in total, solidifying his ability to anchor major prestige projects.
And as we move past 2008, we see him really cementing his position as a Hollywood elder statesman. He's using his star power not just to perform, but to shepherd important projects.
This era is really characterized by dual achievement, Plan B's ascent and his own long-awaited acting Oscar.
Let's start with his two major collaborations with Quentin Tarantino. First, playing Lieutenant Aldo Raine in 2009's Inglourious Basterds, a commercial powerhouse.
$311 million worldwide. But it was a second Tarantino collaboration a decade later that provided the ultimate validation for his acting career.
2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he played the stunt double Cliff Booth.
This role was widely seen as perfection for him. It culminated in his first ever Academy Award for acting, Best Supporting Actor. He swept the season.
The Golden Globes, BAFTAs, SAG, Critics' Choice. It achieved the ultimate goal he set back in the early 90s. Undeniable critical excellence recognized by his peers.
But he wasn't just focused on acting. 2011 was an unbelievably demanding year for him.
It was an incredible balancing act. He produced and appeared in Terrence Malick's challenging Palme d'Or winner, The Tree of Life, and right after that, he starred in the acclaimed lead role as Billy Bean in Moneyball.
And Moneyball secured him Best Actor nominations at the Oscars and Golden Globes, highlighting his masterful transition into portraying these complex, real-life, contemporary figures.
This era is truly the producing peak for Plan B. We have to pause on the sheer power of this company to identify and deliver serious Oscar contenders. Moneyball earned a Best Picture nomination in 2011.
Then, in 2013, came the career-defining win.
The Academy Award for Best Picture for 12 years, A Slave, Pitt won the Oscar as a producer.
That win is so critically important. It showcases the power of his platform using his celebrity and financial influence to champion a profoundly important, difficult film that might have otherwise struggled.
It solidified his role as a champion of serious cinema, and the run continued. The Big Short secured another Best Picture nomination for Plan B in 2015.
But this artistic commitment never hampered his commercial viability. He maintained his blockbuster appeal with action films he also produced, like the 2013 thriller World War Z.
That zombie thriller was a massive commercial undertaking, and it paid off, grossing $540 million worldwide. At the time, it was his top-grossing film.
And these commercial hits are crucial. They funnel the money back into Plan B to fund the next 12 years a slave. It's a self-sustaining ecosystem of commerce supporting art.
Which brings us right up to the current moment, where he is still delivering career best performances. In 2019, he starred in the deep space epic Ad Astra.
The critics were unanimous, lauded as one of his career best. Critics noted how he played the emotionally suppressed astronaut by weaponizing passivity into a lethal form of self-defense.
An intense, internal, controlled performance. A far cry from the frenzied energy of 12 Monkeys or the swagger of Fight Club.
Post-pandemic, he maintained a high profile. Bullet Train in 2022, and he reunited with Margot Robbie for Babylon later that year.
But the recent financial history is dominated by two massive reunion projects that prove his marketability has never waned. First, the comedy thriller Wolves in 2024, re-teaming with George Clooney.
And second, the massive Formula One racing film F1 in 2025.
F1 is maybe the ultimate demonstration of his current clout. He produced and starred in it, securing a reported $30 million salary.
But the result speaks louder than the fee.
Absolutely. The film quickly surpassed World War Z to become his highest-grossing film ever, hitting nearly $600 million worldwide. And more significantly, it became Apple's biggest hit at the box office.
His drawing power in his 60s is arguably higher now than it was at the peak of the Ocean's era.
And just to round out this era, we should mention his capacity for self-effacing humor, like his Emmy-nominated portrayal of Dr. Anthony Fauci on Saturday Night Live in 2020.
And showing his continuous broad artistic interests, he oversaw the reopening of Miraval Studios in France in 2022.
A legendary recording facility where Pink Floyd, AC/DC, and the Cranberries recorded. This blending of classic, high-level artist achievement with modern commercial clout is the key to his extraordinary longevity.
Now we have to transition from the disciplined professional to the highly scrutinized individual. His private life, particularly his relationships and subsequent struggles, often generates equal, if not more, global attention than his cinematic work.
The sources trace his early career through a series of high-profile romances. He was involved with several co-stars, including Shalane McCall from Dallas and Juliette Lewis from Too Young to Die in California.
It's worth noting the age difference there. McCall and Lewis were quite young, 15 and 17, respectively, when those relationships began.
He was also famously engaged to Gwyneth Paltrow, his co-star in Seven. They dated from 94 to 97. This relationship was the perfect precursor to the cultural phenomena that followed, establishing his pattern of dating equally high-profile stars.
And the era of his two marriages perfectly captures the shifting zeitgeist of celebrity couplings. First, Jennifer Aniston. They married in Malibu in 2000. For 5 years, they were the quintessential golden couple of Hollywood.
The public breakup came in early 2005, with the divorce finalized that October.
Despite the overwhelming media narrative of a dramatic split, Pitt maintained in a 2009 interview that they still check in with each other, asserting they remained a large part of each other's lives.
And then came the seismic shift, the Angelina Jolie phenomenon. The relationship began on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, leading the media to instantly coin the term Brangelina.
Though both maintained there was no infidelity, stating they simply fell in love while working together, the sheer scale of the resulting media scrutiny was just unprecedented.
The frenzy peaked when Jolie confirmed her pregnancy in January 2006. Reuters described the media hype as reaching the point of insanity.
They were engaged in 2012, married at Chateau Miraval in 2014, but the legal structure collapsed when Jolie filed for divorce in September 2016, citing irreconcilable differences.
With the divorce legally finalized in April 2019, the family they built was enormous and highly visible, 6 children in total.
Maddox and Zahara, both adopted in 2005, Shiloh, born in Namibia in 2006, Pax, adopted in 2007, and the twins Knox and Vivienne, born in France in 2008.
And the global media fascination was so intense that it was monetized for humanitarian causes. The first photos of Shiloh were sold for over $4.1 million.
And the first images of the twins fetched a record-breaking $14 million. All proceeds were donated to the Jolie Pitt Foundation and various charities.
The post-divorce phase, however, has been dominated by a protracted and contentious custody battle, revealing the dark side of that global celebrity.
Jolie initially sought full custody. In May 2021, Pitt was granted joint custody after years of proceedings.
But that decision was dramatically overturned. In July 2021, the judge, John W. Outerkirk, was removed from the case entirely due to ethical concerns.
This is a crucial detail. The judge was removed because he hadn't sufficiently disclosed business relationships with Pitt's legal team, raising concerns about his impartiality.
Which resulted in the custody arrangement reverting to a previous agreement where Jolie holds primary physical custody, while Pitt maintains custodial time. This back and forth highlights the intense legal maneuvering.
And this tension has recently spilled into highly public and painful actions by the children themselves. In 2025, Shiloh legally changed her name from Jolie Pitt to Shiloh Nouvelle Jolie.
And the sources confirm that 2 other daughters, Zahara and Vivienne, are also reported to have dropped the hyphenated Pitt from their surnames. This is a devastating public marker of the familial split.
It shows the deep emotional wounds caused by the highly public separation.
And this intense scrutiny is compounded by the formal abuse allegations that followed the 2016 incident on a plane. An anonymous accusation led to both FBI and DCFS investigations.
Alleging Pitt was verbally and physically abusive toward one of his children.
And while he was not criminally charged by either agency, the allegations resurfaced dramatically in 2022 when Jolie filed a countersuit during a legal dispute over their shared vineyard.
And this countersuit went into specifics. Her lawyers alleged that Pitt had requested an NDA prohibiting her from speaking publicly about his abuse of her and their children.
The complaints specify allegations from the plane ride, including that he grabbed and shook her, strangled one child, and struck another in the face.
This ongoing, highly sensitive legal and emotional saga puts his carefully crafted public image under constant pressure. On the release of his 2025 film F1, the critic Angelica Jade Bastian published a pointed article in Vulture.
It addressed his seeming rehabilitation, suggesting that the public and the industry are simply choosing to not care about the allegations in their rush to celebrate the star.
Moving away from that drama, the sources revealed some profound, self-reported personal struggles. He publicly admitted to getting sober and attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings starting in September 2016.
His journey towards sobriety is highly documented. He specifically credited fellow actor Bradley Cooper with helping him. This followed a period of significant substance use in the late 1990s as a way to cope with his explosive fame.
Right, he said he was hiding out from the celebrity thing and was smoking way too much dope, feeling like he was just turning into a donut.
He only reduced his usage after a trip to Morocco, provided a powerful perspective check.
And finally, there is the unseen neurocognitive struggle that must profoundly impact his daily life: prosopagnosia.
This is a crucial detail. It's commonly known as face blindness. Pitt has self-reported struggling for years to recognize people's faces, though he hasn't been formally diagnosed.
He said in a 2013 interview that this intense inability made him often want to just stay home because of the social awkwardness it caused.
That is a striking counterpoint to his global, hypervisible image. A man who is instantly recognizable to millions, yet who struggles to recognize the people he meets every day.
It adds profound context to his often guarded public demeanor.
To balance this complexity, we have to acknowledge his dedication to art as a form of private expression. He learned pottery, and in 2022 and 2023, he exhibited 9 of his sculptures publicly in Finland alongside works by Nick Cave.
Okay, so the public image he has successfully cultivated and leveraged over the past 2 decades stands firmly on his extensive philanthropic and political work. He clearly understood the power of his platform as an engine for change early on.
His overt political activism began in 2004 when he visited the University of Missouri to encourage students to vote, specifically supporting John Kerry.
And he didn't shy away from complex scientific issues either. He publicly endorsed California's Proposition 71 for embryonic stem cell research.
Right. He framed his support in pragmatic terms, arguing that we have to make sure that we open up these avenues so that our best and our brightest can go find these cures.
His global activism was focused largely on health and humanitarian atrocities. He supported the One campaign and co-founded Not on Our Watch with George Clooney and Matt Damon to stop mass atrocities.
And one of the most long-standing and impactful examples of his advocacy relates to social issues, particularly same-sex marriage. He took a bold public stance in 2006.
He said that he would only legally marry Angelina Jolie when everyone in America could legally marry.
And he backed that symbolic statement with financial muscle. In 2008, he donated $100,000 to the campaign against California's Proposition 8.
He also participated in a staged reenactment of the federal trial that overturned Prop 8, showing sustained commitment. Politically, he also supported Obama in 2012 and narrated an ad for Joe Biden's 2020 campaign.
But let's dedicate some time to his passion for architecture and sustainability, specifically the Make It Right Foundation. This wasn't a casual interest. The sources confirmed he even studied computer-aided design with the famed architect Frank Gehry.
The Make It Right Foundation was his massive initiative launched after Hurricane Katrina in 2006. The goal was revolutionary: to finance and construct 150 sustainable, affordable new houses in New Orleans' lower Ninth Ward.
This was a colossal undertaking. It involved 13 internationally renowned architectural firms. His personal financial commitment was staggering. He and philanthropist Steve Bing each committed $5 million.
The intention was to create a national model. The homes were designed to be storm-proof, energy-efficient, and affordable.
And the project got serious recognition. He successfully leveraged his platform to push policy, meeting with President Obama and Speaker Nancy Pelosi in 2009 to promote the green housing model.
It just shows the immense power of a celebrity dedicating not just money but political capital and personal time to a specific, complicated initiative.
And finally, underpinning much of his global humanitarian work was the Jolie Pitt Foundation, established in 2006 to support humanitarian causes globally.
The scale of their intent was clear from the start. Initial donations of $1 million each went to global action for children and Doctors Without Borders.
And subsequent donations maintained that high level. $1 million to a UN refugee agency for displaced Pakistanis in 2009, and another $1 million to Doctors Without Borders for Haiti earthquake relief in 2010. The commitment was substantial.
So this deep dive reveals a profound and continuous duality at the heart of William Bradley Pitt's life. On one side, we have the highly disciplined, creatively driven professional who mastered the Hollywood system.
The Oscar-winning producer of Plan B, championing films like Moneyball and 12 Years a Slave, the universally recognized Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the commercial powerhouse behind the record-breaking F1.
And on the other, we see the deeply complex public figure grappling with severe internal and external challenges.
The dedication to sobriety and recovery, the self-reported isolating struggle with prosopagnosia, and the intense, persistent media focus on his private life, from the Brangelina height to the current deeply contentious disputes and severe ongoing allegations.
His longevity is just undeniable. He remains a cultural reference point. I mean, they named a minor planet, 29132 Brad Pitt, after him in 2015. He is, simply put, a cultural landmark.
So what is the ultimate synthesis for you, the listener? We've traced his evolution from an aspiring journalist who fled Missouri to an industry giant defined by prestige, passion projects, and profound personal turmoil. We see an artist who, through Plan B, elevated serious cinema.
And a public figure who, through massive philanthropic efforts, genuinely used his platform for good.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We have to reflect on the juxtaposition of his massive, highly public, and undeniably effective humanitarian efforts. The entire political push for same-sex marriage, the millions channeled through the Jolie Pitt Foundation, the tangible architecture of the Make It Right Foundation.
Against the severe scrutiny and detailed allegations surrounding his private life and his conduct as a father and partner.
This tension, especially when we view it through the lens of that 2025 Vulture critique that questioned his public rehabilitation and the public's seeming indifference to the allegations, highlights an enduring challenge in our current media ecosystem.
The struggle to truly separate the artistic product, the powerful brand, and the genuinely good works from the messy, flawed, and often painful reality of the individual's life.
It leaves us with a final provocative thought. In an era of saturated information and selective memory, how much does consistent demonstrated public good ultimately offset severe private allegations?
And how is the narrative of a global icon truly written by their achievements or by the secrets they attempt to outrun?
Something potent to consider as you process this deep dive. Thank you for tuning in.